Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right in because today we're exploring a massive and honestly fascinating behavioral shift. We're going to dive into why your strong preference for texting over calling absolutely doesn't mean you're broken, avoidant, or antisocial. In fact, as we'll uncover today, it actually means your brain is highly efficient. So let's start with a scenario I'm sure you know all too well. Have you ever caught yourself doing this? You're just hanging out, your phone lights up, it starts vibrating, and you just stare at it. You literally watch it ring, you wait patiently for it to hit voicemail, and then 3 seconds later, you text the person back like, hey, what's up? It is such a universal experience for so many of us. But the actual psychological reasons behind it, they are almost never talked about accurately. And that's because there's a huge disconnect between public perception and psychological reality. Society loves to label people who avoid phone calls as avoidant, antisocial, or say they just have phone anxiety. But the science tells a totally different story. It shows that this behavior is actually the hallmark of a deep thinker, someone whose brain manages energy and information incredibly well. So let's break down exactly why that is. All right, reason number 1, cognitive reflection, or the need to think before speaking. You have to look at the mechanical difference between these two mediums. A phone call inherently demands an instant reaction. Someone speaks, and boom, you are socially obligated to reply right that second. But highly intelligent people naturally analyze everything. They want to think before they speak. Texting offers a thoughtful response. It gives your brain the necessary buffer to actually process the information and choose your words carefully. Psychologists actually have a specific term for this: cognitive reflection. It's the ability to question your first instinct and think a little deeper. So by choosing to text, you aren't ignoring someone to be rude. You're just giving yourself the space to analyze the conversation and craft a meaningful reply. Your brain simply prefers to reflect rather than just instinctively react. Moving on to reason 2, protecting cognitive bandwidth. To really get this, we need to look at another foundational concept in psychology called cognitive bandwidth. This is essentially your brain's capacity to focus and process information at any given time. Think of it like your brain's processing power. Gifted and self-aware people know that their focus is a super valuable resource. When they're in the zone, whether you're working or honestly even just relaxing, your cognitive bandwidth is allocated right where it needs to be. Now, a phone call acts as a sudden, jarring interruption. It literally forces you to drop whatever you're doing, which creates this immediate cognitive overload and makes it really hard for your brain to function at its best. Texting, on the flip side, represents protected focus. It lets you maintain your mental space and only engage when you actually have the bandwidth to do so. It's honestly just pure mental efficiency. Okay, let's hit reason 3, high social sensitivity. For some people, their biology just reacts differently to the world. High social sensitivity means you have a nervous system where spontaneous social situations drain your energy way faster than they do for the average person. And look, it's not a weakness. It's literally just a different operating system. And a sudden phone call? Well, that is the ultimate spontaneous social situation. Let's walk through what a phone call actually feels like for someone with high social sensitivity. Step 1, the sudden ring. Startling, right? Step 2, the immediate social performance. The second you answer, you have to manage your tone, match the other person's energy, and just instantly be fully on, which inevitably leads to step 3, a massive, rapid energy drain. Texting totally removes that sudden spike of forced social pressure. It lets your nervous system communicate at the natural, steady pace it actually prefers. Which brings us to reason 4, skipping the small talk. Think about how almost every single phone call starts. We all know the script. Hey, how are ya? How's the weather? What are you up to? A lot of deep thinkers actively avoid this. It's not just that they dislike it, their brains genuinely find these mandatory, shallow social rituals to be incredibly draining. What deep thinkers are actually hungry for is depth, meaning, new ideas, and direct, purposeful conversation. And texting is perfectly designed for this. It cuts out the awkward filler words and the pleasantries. You can just get straight to the point. You aren't avoiding the person you're talking to, you're just bypassing the shallow rituals that are bolted onto a voice call. And finally, reason 5, autonomy and control. Phone calls come with a surprising amount of invisible baggage. When you answer a call, you are essentially trapped in that interaction until both parties mutually agree to hang up. It's a binding social contract. People who highly value their independence and have really strong boundaries often resist this kind of forced pressure, whether they realize they're doing it or not. So by preferring to text, you're actively exercising your autonomy. You keep complete control over your time. You maintain control of your emotional availability, meaning you choose exactly when you're ready to give your energy to someone else. And most importantly, you get freedom from external pressure. You aren't letting a ringing plastic box dictate when and how you communicate with the world.
Let's bring this all together for the validating reframe. You are not broken. If your phone lives permanently on Do Not Disturb, or if you let calls ring out only to text back 5 seconds later, it does not mean you lack communication skills. Not at all. It simply means your psychology leans toward cognitive reflection, deep thinking, and fiercely protecting your mental energy. You are just optimizing your environment for how your brain works best. At the end of the day, you are choosing peace and precision over a forced performance. It's a deliberate, highly intelligent choice to communicate in a way that aligns with your nervous system, rather than constantly fighting against it. Understanding the world really does start with understanding your own mind. So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. Now that you know the powerful psychology behind your preferences, how will you set your communication boundaries moving forward? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this gives you the confidence to communicate exactly the way you need to.